This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded December 30th, 2013. Episode 178. Year-End Yarn Yakking.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
I don't know about you, Chris, but down here in Australia, it is the end of 2000 and... What is it, 13? Holy crap.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there around here, man. The clock is ticking. And I can tell the clock is ticking because... I know a certain procrastinator who is racing his ass off before the clock strikes midnight.
Well, it is now, as I look at my watch, it is 12:09 p.m. on the 31st of December, and it's a Tuesday, so I wanted to shoot a teardown/repair Tuesday. So I wanted to do that, and I usually do like an end of the year recap and sort of, things that have happened, and so that's
and
two videos.
And you wrote this huge blog post, and you finishing your Kickstarter,
and I just got some more stuff today, so I could assemble more boards if I wanted to, and man, it's all happening. I've run out of bloody time.
Well, and we weren't even supposed to record a show this week. It was just kind of like,
well, whatever.
It seemed to work out, so why not?
Whatever. So here we are. And of all things, a Reddit has died on us because we usually keep, for those not aware, we usually keep our stuff we want to talk about, or at least, a list of potential stuff to talk about on Reddit. And, Reddit's down and,
Yeah. Man,
all the
you
nerds
can't trust
around the world
these days, huh?
The nerds around the world are just they don't know what to do with themselves. Holy shit, I might have to actually go outside. The internet's down. Bugger it, I'll just go edit a wiki page or something.
Yeah, right. I'll go troll someone on a forum.
Or be on a forum all morning, as I bloody have, because there's been a huge thread on the forum that's just exploded this morning about should people on the forum, the EEV blog forum, be able to delete their own posts? Should they have the right?
Meta. Yeah.
It's very, Orwellian kind of question.
Like who owns the data, right?
Who owns the data, and should anything you put on the internet be there for all time, and you'd never be able to edit it.
Right.
And it's an interesting question, and I've always been of the opinion that no, it's my forum, but I run the forum, but I don't own your information. I think that's just pretty shitty for me to claim that. And so, if you want to, you freely contribute the information, you're free to take it away. And
really? Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I've always had that. I've always had the ability to delete your own posts and edit your own posts and things like that. But, some things happened in the last couple of days where, it was actually turned out to be an issue, a technical issue. But anyway, it affected other people's posts by someone deleting their posts. It affected other people's posts and deleted the thread. Right. So as a trial, I disabled the option to delete your own posts. And, it's looking like it's
all hell broke loose, yeah.
Well, it's looking like it's some people agree with it, others, haven't. And I'm swaying back to the opinion that, no, I think it's a bad idea. I think people should be able to delete their own information that they put on the net. So I know this isn't electronics related, but
No, it's interesting. I think a lot of people that listen to this have been on, at least either on the EV blog forum or on other types of forums, right?
Other forums, of course.
Yeah,
Reddit's
a forum as well. Yeah. It's just a good place to capture information. That's an interesting question.
Well, that's the thing, right? There's, a handful of people who might think that, a forum is not meant as is meant as an historical record of
written in stone kind of thing.
Written in stone. Once you put, if you don't want it there for all time, don't put it there. And you shouldn't modify. You shouldn't be able to edit anything. Maybe after like 10 minutes just to fix your initial post. But after that, no, it's there for all time. Even your mistakes are there. And if you want to correct your mistakes, well, put a new post.
Yeah.
And, well, the counter-argument is that, well, like it or not, the forums aren't just an historical record, they're an information resource.
Yeah.
And, you know, what's better, having a whole bunch of incorrect information on there that you can never edit, or, you know, being able to go back and fix it? Right, because then you end up having
posts that are like, oh, this
scattered.
is a fix to that post.
Yeah, exactly. Scattered rather than being able to, here's one master post that has all the correct up-to-date information.
That's tough.
You know? Yeah, so it's
that's like the lab notebook idea too, right? I mean, like, so old lab notebooks,
of course.
you weren't allowed, you had to write in pen,
yep,
you
that's
couldn't
right.
rip any pages out, you had to have everything notated.
Yep.
And I never had to keep one, so I never.
Ah, right. I
really
did at various companies I worked for, being big military companies. Oh, yeah, it was the done thing. You saw everyone walk around with their little red notebook, you know.
Yeah.
Yep. And each page was dated and signed, and written in pen.
Right, because a lot of that matters for patents too, right? I mean, that was the first
patents,
first to invent, right? Because then you actually had the burden of proof was on you.
That's right.
You had to say, I came up with this concept, you know, December 31st or December 30th at 6 a.m. and here's someone notating it and yada, yada, yada.
Actually, at one point, they even made us, if you didn't fill the page, you were to scribble out all of the blank space on the page so that you couldn't go back and edit later, so that you couldn't add stuff later to make it look like you did it on that day. Oh yeah, they got that anal at one point, but in the end, it was mostly relaxed that you didn't have to do that. But at one point, any blank space at all on a page you had to put big lines through it, big zigzag lines, so that it was obvious if you've edited stuff later.
See, now, I guess this kind of gets back to that. I actually don't like. I always thought, it's great seeing these old lab notebooks on the shelf, and we have a project coming up in 2014 that's going to be lab notebook related, which is very exciting.
Yes, we do. We'll post a photo. We'll post a teaser photo.
Yes, teaser photo. But the thing that I don't like is, they look great on the shelf, like these old lab notebooks, like where I've worked and stuff like that. But when you actually go and look at them, then I don't like it because it's not useful. It's not useful information. It's like, oh, well, I'm looking at December 15th and Dave said, the output from this op amp should be 3.5 volts. But then on December 18th, he said, no, that was wrong, and I can't go back and delete it.
Exactly.
And it's like, so when does this record really happen? You have to keep Post-it notes that kind of say, this is the answer, and kind of index it.
Well, that comes back to the argument whether or not you want to use it as an information resource or an historical record. They're essentially two different arguments.
Right.
So I'd say a personal lab notebook falls under the historical record category rather than information resource. Well,
so then what was the other one? So it's information resource versus what?
Information resource
historical
versus
record?
and historical record. So the information resource is here's all the correct calculations.
It's like a schematic, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. You always keep the latest schematic with all the corrections on it, right? And usually you delete the ones that have mistakes, right? You usually don't keep them as historical records, do you? I mean, most people don't.
Exactly.
Unless it went into production. That's a different story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's its own ball of wax.
Yeah, you can't, like if you ship that to
tracking.
customers or you made some prototypes, that are hanging around that may be used at a later date, you still need to keep that schematic. You can't go back and, Although, I broke my own rule there with the microcurrent. Like, I made a small change to the microcurrent board, right, for production. The ones that you've seen, the prototype ones I've done, you've seen in the videos, the production one, slightly different. I changed the silk screen around a little bit to put the label on, better so it didn't cover stuff, and I shuffled the odd component, 0.1 millimeter. I fixed up a little trace that somebody found for me where it didn't connect all the way through, so that was a marginal manufacturing tolerance issue. But I still called it the same version number. I didn't want to update the version number. Because
you just do version 1, you don't do like 1.0 or 1.8?
No, I just kept it as version 5. But I did put a different date on the board so I could differentiate it later. But the version, and the reason I didn't want to, I was reluctant to change the version number is because technically some people might get this old version, right?
Right. Right.
You
it
know,
needs to be trackable.
And I don't want them to come back complaining, oh, what's the difference between version 5 and version 6? You know, like, oh, have I got the old, you know, and no. Everyone's got version because it's electrically the same. It's electrically identical.
Exactly.
So
and that's the same kind of thing in other type of production environments where maybe you run out of a certain reel of components, right? You're using a LM324 from TI, right? And then you have a different vendor, the same part, same everything electrically, but you still, you know, if you're going to swap in a different vendor, a different manufacturing part number, even if it's the same electrically similar part, you should notate that in some way, because then if there are lot differences, you know, you need to have that traceable.
Yep.
Which, that's a mess.
That is
stuff.
a mess. I mean, your high-end CAD tools have the ability to, you know, put in alternative parts and stuff like that. So, you know, which that generally works okay once your system's down pat and you've actually approved those parts and you've manufactured and you know everything's hunky-dory, and so the purchasing people can choose. They're free to choose whichever part is available this week. You know, and then
well, it's even like so. Say you were doing a fix in production, right? So you have version 3, right? You're shipping out version 3 of your board, and then halfway through production, you know, you've sent out the first half of your batch of version 3, and then you realize that you should have, you know, a larger voltage capacitor in there or something like that, you know, or a bodge wire that you find. You know, you need to notate that somehow, but it's still version 3 compared to what's in the field. You need to track that all the way back.
Exactly, but electrically the components are slightly different. So the performance and specs could actually be slightly different. But it's still the same BOM, it's still the same it's a different BOM, but it's still the same schematic, it's still the same PCB, it's still the same version number. But your BOM is slightly changed.
Right, and that's tough.
It's a mess. That's why every company, you know, there's no one right or wrong way to do it. Every company has their own way, and generally, the right way is the way that you choose and stick with. That's it. You know, it doesn't really matter how you do it, as long as you document it. You know,
consistency. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Consistency is key. So that's in most companies I've worked at. That's how it works. You know, why? You know, it seems silly. You come into a new company, you start the job, and you go, "Why are you doing this? This is so inefficient." And the right answer is because that's the way we've always done it, and to change it is just stupider than trying to do it. You know, than changing it and doing it right. You know, or
that's
better.
True. That's true.
You know, it's just
Yeah, I like the. So I started. I forget who. I think it was someone on the show that mentioned it. It might have been Mike Osman or someone else who did KiCad stuff, or not KiCad, sorry, but Github stuff, where they put their schematics and layout, their actual and the BOM and everything onto GitHub, and basically then anytime you have any change, your GitHub commit number, which is like a hash, is going to change. And so then you could put that as a sticker on there, right? And then you could go back through and see that history. I mean, it's basically the same thing as a lot of older systems do, but it's just more programmatic. So I like that idea. I think I'm going to do that going forwards. But and you know, you start with the base commit number, right? So that's like your Rev 1, when it's released production, you're at commit number, yada, 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 yada. It's on the silk screen, and then you can just put a sticker over it when it's different. So that's how I'm doing it from now on.
But I can see flaws in that too. I mean, what if...
Oh, yeah?
I mean, what if it's just a component issue? Because GitHub, you know, you might have put your BOM in there. Oh, okay, no, your BOM's in there. But I'm saying, what if halfway through the production run, you can't get that part anymore, right? And you've provided an alternative part to your assembler. Do you then update your GitHub thing, even though you know that's just a one-off? That's just a one-off thing, and you're going to go back to using the original part once it becomes available again. This is only a temporary thing. How do you handle those temporary...
I would do that then, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, because then it would say, today's December 30th here, right? And it's December 30th. Chris switched over to, you know, this new manufacturing part number, and then your commit number changes, right? So then you have this new sticker, and then once you decide, okay, I don't want to use that part anymore, I go back. This is the same discussion we had a couple weeks ago, where we were talking about, you know, do you do your revision tracking in the CAD tool, or do you do it in like an external tool? Right. And I came down on the CAD tool because then this would be trackable, right? You'd have these different commit numbers through time. They're not very nice to read, right? I mean, the commit numbers are monstrous character strings, but there's other things you can do like tags or something like that. I don't know what that is.
Okay.
But yeah, it is possible, and I would do that. I would, once, like you said, once you pick something, you have to kind of standardize on it. In that case, it would be, if you're going to be updating in the CAD tool, you got to just always update it in the CAD tool,
right?
Regardless of production or anyone else,
and then you've got to tee in your assembler to ensure that they put the right labels on the right boards. Oh, okay, we use this alternative reel on this one, so all these ones coming out now must get labeled. And a lot of the times that's not how they're doing things in assembly. They might apply labels right at the finished end after you've bunched all the boards together, and you don't know which ones have had what part put on from which manufacturer.
See, now that's the ultimate.
So
that's
what
like
are you
the
going to do?
ultimate.
Stick the label on the still smoking hot board?
Right. You can laser etch it in or something like that, right?
Right.
I think that's the ultimate level, though, is, if you ever do get to not many assemblers do this, because usually assembly operations, aside from the because all the different software changes between the pick and place tools and like, hand assembly, that kind of thing, stuff like that, it's tough to track, each reel, right? The best case scenario would be, okay, I'm using this type of part. I have a reel of, these 1N914s, right? And I'm going to scan the barcode on it, and the barcode contains all of the date code information. It contains the manufacturing information, has the lot numbers, right? Like all of that stuff's in there. And then every time it gets scanned through, then that data gets passed through to the final result as well. Because, if you want to look at like actual variation between lots, one part, you can I'm sure you've had this too, where you trace an actual production problem to, okay, we changed the reel, or we changed the part type, and then it was working before and it's not working now.
Yep.
It's
happens all the time. It's a pain in the ass. It's a mess. Hey, guess what?
What?
I'm special.
Oh?
I got my own. I got my own I got my own custom DigiKey part number.
Oh, so if I scan in a reel of parts, it might be EEV blog part numbers?
Yep.
What is the story here?
No, it's a special part number. I got. Yeah, I'm
you
assuming
gonna
everyone
us,
can
or?
do this. Oh well, no, it's a part I've been having lead time issues and with a critical part, and the manufacturer stepped in and said, hey, we'll, ensure that you get these parts and we'll fix it for you, and, in the future you'll get special priority and, all this sort of jazz. And they said, oh, we'll talk to DigiKey and get them to add a special part number into their system just for me. And it's been added for that specific part, so that when I order that, they know it's a priority part and it gets, handled differently,
so
and it comes from the
then,
supplier. Yeah.
Then it doesn't come. If I order that part number, they'll say, no, you can't buy this. You're not Dave.
I don't know how that works. It may.
We might have to test this out.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Other people may be able to. Well, if you want to plonk down $4,000 or $5,000 on a reel, you're happy to try it out.
Got to buy the whole reel, huh?
Yeah, you got to buy the whole reel.
Oh man.
And
okay,
like
well, no, I'll pass
I might likely get special pricing and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I don't know how common this is, but DigiKey certainly, it seemed to be part of their normal process. So I'm sure they have. I'm sure they've done this for a lot of people before. They seem to have no issue with it. But yeah, I got a unique part number, so I don't know if then it pops up on the system or whether or not it's hidden and I've got it and only I know the part number.
Right.
I think that might be the case. So
you should ask them if instead of like a -ND, which stands for no discount, you should see if they'll do a -NERD.
Yeah, vanity part numbers. That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yeah.
So you've started building. So people hopefully have seen your videos. I've enjoyed that, watching
cool.
Fast motion Dave picking
Dave
the meat,
pick and place.
The meat pick and place, right?
Yep.
So how's all that going?
It's all right. I've only built the 10, so I haven't built any more. I've still got another 30 to do by hand, and then I've got to start the production as well. That'll be sort of mid to late January, I think, will be the volume production. So,
and this is all in town kind of thing.
That'll all be here. Yes, yeah, it'll be done.
Great,
and
man.
it's looking like I'll probably have to make like 2,000 of them now, because I think I'm up to 1,200 backers or something. And some of them want multiple units, right? I'm not sure exactly how many, because Kickstarter won't tell me shit like that yet. It's crazy.
Right.
Actually, the campaign will probably be finished, because it finishes at midnight tonight. So, there's only like 12 hours left. I'm probably going to post this show right after we're done recording. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I'll start getting an email, oh, I missed the campaign.
So if you missed the campaign... Dave will sell these later. Are you going to sell these later, you think?
Oh, yeah. They'll probably go through the dealers again, just like they always have.
Yeah,
but, of course, people who bought on the campaign get first dibs. So
yeah, of course.
Yep. Well, people who bought the first 200 get first dibs.
Yeah, I was thinking about buying one, but then I thought about it. I'm like, I don't really need this.
No, it's a niche product.
I've got some. Well, it's like I have good stuff on my bench.
Yeah, of course.
This is an extender for a handheld.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why
You've got
popular.
Keithley meters, right, which can measure. Right. Down that low.
Yeah, 6.5 and.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's cool, man. That's great, though, man. You got crossed 100. What, 111,000.
111,000, something like that. 1,200 units.
Australian dollars. Was that like 35 American dollars or something like that?
Right. It is plummeting. Jesus, the Australian
is
dollar.
Is it really?
Yeah, this is killing me, because I did all
Does
my
it affect you?
Oh, yeah. Because I did all my bomb, right? I usually do my bombs in US dollars. Right?
Okay.
Because, that's usually what I buy them in, unless I'm doing really bulk stuff, and then there's all customs and everything involved. It gets a bit tricky. But anyway, because I know usually there's only it usually only varies like plus minus 5%, the exchange rate. So, really, so I sort of just assume they're the same, and everything else comes out in the wash. But now the Australian dollar's dropped to like 88 US cents or something like that. So it's like 12%, under, and all
so that
of a
means
sudden,
you guys have a premium?
Yeah.
Then,
so my parts cost 12% more than what I anticipated on my bomb, because my bomb was in US dollars, yet I'm, selling this thing in Australian dollars. So the profit, so to work out the profit margin and all that, now it starts to,
So does that mean...
So
that's because the Australian dollar is stronger then? Is that the idea?
No, the Australian dollar is weaker compared to the US. Australian dollar is weaker, so I'm paying more. So if it
hadn't been like that for a while, right?
No. In fact, just 6 months ago, 9 months ago, the Australian dollar was more than the US dollar.
Yeah, I remember you making fun of me about that.
So my bomb was cheaper. Right?
Yeah.
So parts I was getting parts cheaper because I was buying in US dollars and selling in Australian dollars. Now it's the opposite. Well, now I'm still doing that, but now the dollars flipped the other way, and my profits suddenly dropped. 12% or whatever it is, depends on the I don't know. Math is not my strong point.
Yeah, right. Well, okay. But that's interesting that affects you too. I mean, so would you even be able to buy this stuff locally? I mean, I guess that's another question that I would have.
No, you can't really buy it locally. No, I've got to buy from
you guys don't have local distributors or?
Oh, look, we do, but by the time you deal with it's just easier to deal through DigiKey and Mouse. It's there. You know what the stock is. You don't have to talk to a human. You don't have to get a quote.
I was gonna say.
You just order it, right? They've got the delivery date. They've got the back order delivery dates on there, which they screwed me with. Right. They changed it.
Yeah.
But anyway, at least it's there, right?
Yeah.
So,
See now what? Yeah. Okay, so say this is going to be somewhere about 2,000 units, right?
Yep.
Now it becomes 10,000 units. Do you go local?
As in buying units. Parts local?
Yeah, I guess that would also depend if you're going to manufacture local at that point as well,
I would still manufacture local, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So would you buy local then too? Like parts?
Maybe, because you would generally, as a general rule, you'll get better price from your local dealer for multiple reels than you will if you buy the reels from DigiKey or Mouser.
Gotcha.
So, but just one reel. Like, I don't care about saving $50 on a $4,000 reel or a $1,000 reel.
The convenience is worth it.
The convenience is just worth it, right? Because virtually all of my parts are on DigiKey. So assuming that they have them in stock, I can just, set up a bobbin DigiKey, hit one button, and bingo, parts come to me. I mean, it's, yeah. So once you start going, oh, look, I've got to go to a different dealer for this brand of resistor and this one, and no.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's
right, and
fine.
then you have the variation issues again, right? You probably won't, but if you get the right spec components and everything, but then there's also labeling issues. You don't recognize part numbers and everything else, and that can affect you too.
Yeah, it's just not good. And then you've got to maintain all that in your BOM and the suppliers and their contact details and their shipping status and their, what stock you have. And, no, it's just... Yeah, it's too hard. But, yeah, if it was 10,000, yes, I'd probably wouldn't be buying from DigiKey and Mouser, In fact, some of the parts I haven't, because I've had to scour the world. I've, bought up the world's stock of these switches that are used on the microcurrent.
Because no one uses those big switches anymore either.
Well, there's 10 million different types of switches on the market,
Right.
Stock is, they generally don't keep tens of thousands of stock of these things. So...
what's interesting about hard to find components like that, right? Because we've probably a lot of our listeners have probably done this as well, where you design in something, you get attached to it. Maybe you have a mechanical part that's designed around it, that kind of thing as well. So I've had this happen before, and maybe I've mentioned it on the show. I'm not sure, but I've had it happen before where I have a part that's very critical based on plastics and everything else.
Sure.
Like this spacing.
Yep.
And it got to the point where I couldn't get it anymore. It was obsolete, and I couldn't get it. And I found it on some shady ass Chinese website. It was like One Hung Lo Corporation. We build anything, right? And it's true. They could build anything, right? But it's the fact that I'm in Ohio, they're in Shenzhen somewhere, and the gap of 1,000 miles. It's however many thousand miles. Yeah. There's no way I was going to do it. Now, the situation ended up resolving itself anyways, but it got to the point where it was like, I was willing to pay a premium to a local company, a local, not even local, but like a national brand that could go, and I even sent them the webpage, and I'm like, you go deal with these guys, you rebadge it with your label, you let me yell at you here in Cleveland, Ohio, and that premium is worth it.
Yep.
Totally. Because you get in these situations where it's like, you're so entrenched in these very specific parts that it's like, what else are you going to do, right? It's a mess.
We've mentioned this before, purchasing people probably don't get enough praise.
Right. And I have to hate them as much as I love them.
Of course, that's a natural.
I know they're right.
Yeah, that's
of course I should design in a better part than the one I did. But it's like, sometimes you just can't.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't want to.
Well, I was working for a company who shall remain nameless, and we had a commercial product that, unfortunately, we'd spec'd in an obsolete part. The part went obsolete, right? And the manufacturer there was no last buy. It was just, it was gone, right? And, we had to buy up the world's stock. And once that was gone, we're committed to this because it was the plug-in platform that we were using, right? That we had standardized on. So it's not like we just go choose another one, because then all the modules we'd ever built weren't compatible anymore,
geez.
Right?
Yeah, right.
So we had to go find a manufacturer who was willing to copy that existing design and manufacture us a compatible one.
Yeah.
And then that opens up a whole legal can of worms. We couldn't put the original manufacturer's name on it, right?
No,
so it had to be
not,
branded the One Hung Lo Company, right? Yeah. Or branded with our own company's
something.
Part number, but then, we've stolen their design, right?
Right.
And what do? It's in the end, it's easier to seek forgiveness than it is to seek permission. So, I think that's how it worked.
That's tough.
Oh, it is a tough position to be in. And then, it's never an exact duplicate, right? So we had to fully recharacterize and retest those connectors, and they were different. We designed automated insertion testing jigs, so it would mate these connectors 1,000 times at different angles, and we could see the result. How much gold was it wearing off? How much? How long would the thing last? And they're totally different, even though it was as identical as you could possibly get. They're just the subtle differences, was a big deal.
Well, it's not always these one hung low companies either, right? I mean, it could just be local manufacturers, like that. Like I've worked with local manufacturers before that are doing that kind of similar work where it's just kind of, we're in a bind. Can you tool up for this? And they say yes, right? Because they just want the business. And then they do. And then they get to charge a healthy premium over what you were paying because they're it. That's all there is. And then the switching costs to go, you went from, you went from some huge vendor to this local, blah, blah, blah's shop, right? I mean, like, but now, you paid tooling already. It's already made. He's already making it. And it's like, I could go pay tooling somewhere else and deal with the headaches again, or I could just keep paying this premium. And it's like, you're going to pay the premium every time.
Yeah, of course.
And I think a lot of companies get started like that, to be honest. I think a lot of, especially connectors. Seems like connectors is a big game for that kind of thing.
Well, because, it's a physical thing. It's a physical compatibility thing. So, that's why it's a big deal with connectors. But, hey, you can easily change, your resistor from an 0603 to an 0805,
Right. But but you're not going to be switching your silicon, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or, as I said, you've standardized on a certain backplane connector, It's not like you can,
Yeah.
Or a test connector for production or something like that, and Yep.
Yeah, that's where you cross your fingers and hope no patent lawyers notice, and hope there's no patents out there, that willful ignorance of, I didn't know that we were violating a patent, so you can't sue me for it, which I think is a real thing, isn't it? Where it's like if you don't,
you're
not supposed to actually go look it up.
No, ignorance is not a defense in the patent law.
It's not a defense. I thought it was. There was something like that where I thought there was. I forget what it was.
It was something about like no distinction. The law makes no distinction.
I know what you're talking about in general, but I'm saying like there was something specifically like don't go and look up a patent because if you didn't look it up, you're not willfully violating it, and there's some difference there.
That's the old Chinese wall method of development. I've worked on teams like that where they deliberately isolate our design group from seeing the competitor's product at all costs. Because we can't even get a hint of. We can't even get a hint of an idea, even subconsciously, from the competitor's product. Otherwise, we might subconsciously put it into our product, and then we'll get sued. Whereas that's where the notebooks come in.
Yeah, right.
Because you can go back, and even if you, by accident, you actually produce something similar to what the competitor's done in some obscure, patent area or whatever, you can go, but look, we developed this independently. And I think that
that's
what
proof
you're talking
as we
about.
went
And here's
through it,
the
right?
proof. Yep.
So, that's a mess. What a mess.
But if you don't have that proof, I don't think you have a leg to stand on. So, whereas if you do have it...
So notebooks are important then, huh?
They can be important, yeah. But it's not a guarantee. Once again, it comes down to how much money you've got and how good your lawyers are. The person with the most money and the best lawyers generally always wins. You know? Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because around here, I'm not sure if it was... I think it was like that already around there, but it just switched over Firstttofile versus Firsttoinvent.
Yep.
So there is going to be less focus on that kind of thing. There's less demand on notebooks, right? Because you don't need to prove a certain date when it was invented. Right. You just need to go throw it onto a patent before anyone else can and get it granted. So I don't know if it's better or worse, but I'm sure there's lawyers, so it's got to be worse, right?
Exactly. There's pros and cons both ways. Yeah. That's why I reckon just publish. Yep.
Yeah, I do like that one still. That's
first to publish.
That's good.
Yep.
First to publish. Yeah.
That's a T-shirt. That's a
Reddit
T-shirt
is
right
back
there.
up. Did you see that?
Which one?
Reddit, the site where
Reddit's
we keep all of our links.
Oh, right.
Yes.
No, I hadn't continued. I wasn't sitting here continually pressing refresh. No, it's not working for me. Oh, yes, it is. It's up. It's up.
Yeah. We're back in business. Well, and before we do that, though, we should mention we have a new website as well.
Oh, yes, you've revamped it. Chris can't help himself. Every 6 months he gets the itch to change it,
This
and change web hosts,
while.
and, he's changed the name servers again. He's dicking around. He's always dicking around.
I was doing stuff for my other website, so it's kind of like, once you're going to dig into that Once you're going to wade into the pile of crap, you might as well keep going. You know?
Yeah. You might as well dig your whole shit deeper. Yeah.
But if I've got the terminal open, I should keep rocking through it. Make sure the job is done. So yeah, we got a new website though. People can see the number of comments there are on articles. That's one thing that wasn't on the old page. You can actually see how many comments there are. So it's easier to join in the conversation.
Yep.
It's real brief, so you can kind of scroll through a lot of different shows at once. And our beautiful logo is designed. And I finally released the name of who actually built this logo for us because we said we would hold off for a while, and then I didn't really use her services anymore. So figured we should share. Her name's Rachel Rivera. She does her company's called Rad Castle.
Have you provided a link?
I have on that post, and I will in the show notes here as well.
There you go.
So she's got some cool stuff. She's very artsy, so
excellent.
I like it.
Yeah, no, it's a great. So we've ditched the globe thing. The globe thing's officially gone.
Yeah, it's around still, but yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Our Rockstar logo is the new one, and
cool.
This is easy to view on mobile too. I mean, it's not going to be perfect. A lot of people commented on when I announced this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be perfect on every device, but it should be a lot better than the last one.
Right.
And then you can see up at the top as well. There's a suggest link as well. So a lot of people sometimes post guest suggestions on the subreddit, or if they want to find the subreddit, all that stuff is there. Also, Workbench of the Week. We haven't done that in a long time, but there is a link for that too. So
brilliant. So, any other changes in the new year for the show? I don't think so.
We have a web store as well, a store for our T-shirt.
Oh, for the shirts. Yep.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have that before. We only did the Teespring campaigns.
Yeah.
And then we gave away shirts. But now you can go and buy T-shirts if you want. I turned off the any kind of profit that we're getting from it. So it's just so people can get T-shirts in their hands.
Yep.
Because single run prints are pretty expensive in the first place. So we didn't. We'll be okay.
The Teespring would still be cheaper though, wouldn't it? If we ran
Teespring would be cheaper. Yeah, anytime you're doing like a bulk campaign.
Anytime you do the crowdsourcing, it's cheaper.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's a double benefit. It's cheaper for you, and we get a fairly healthy margin on the Teespring stuff.
Exactly.
So, which helps us
we might
pay
do
for
some
our
more of those
service
in the new year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the bone coloured one that I got.
Oh yeah, the white one.
Usually
that's actually the cheapest one.
Yeah, it's not actually white. It's like bone. It's like a bone colour.
Right.
It's not just a in your face kind of white. Yeah. And
right, exactly. Yeah, because all T-shirts end up that color anyways, right? So why not start there?
Right. Especially nerd T-shirts. Yeah.
Yeah, exacchaly. Oh man, you spill a bunch of coffee on it. You get some flux on your shirt.
Yeah,
Eventually, the whole thing turns yellowish. Chain smoking in the lab. Everything turns yellow. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
So yeah, that's about it for the website. Hope people like it. I'll keep updating it throughout the year, but
of course,
hopefully it's easier to keep in touch through that and everything. So,
but we don't plan any changes. We'll just rock up each Tuesday, Monday your time, and we do the show.
Oh yeah, well we got guests scheduled out through March. You're going to be out for the next show, but so we're gonna I'll have to rework some of that stuff. But we've got guests scheduled all the way through March right now. We got a bunch of great ones coming up. So
fantastic.
That's going to be awesome.
I couldn't get the Woz. Sorry, he's in Sydney at the moment.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a holiday. I'm sure that's what it is, right?
Although I could stalk him because he does his update. He does his location updates.
Yeah.
I could probably go out and stalk him. Yeah.
Yeah, just go to hang out in the IHOP where he's at or whatever it is.
Right.
That'd be kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Kind of creepy.
I'm sure he gets people like that, follow him.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't do that unless you wanted people to find you, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, there's no logical reason to post up by the hour your current location unless you wanted, the odd person to track you down and say hi. I'm sure that's... Yeah.
Yeah, that must be part of it.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Nothing's changing here, folks.
What's that?
Nothing's changing here.
Oh no, we're
how many years
maybe
we've
at
been
like
doing
5
this
years,
gig?
right?
Right.
Yeah. 5 years in, we'll start to make some small changes, right?
What's it been? 3
Dave
years?
will be replaced by an Android. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Aussie Android. Did you see? I just posted this one today, but someone pointed it out to me on Twitter. It's a really cool idea, though. I don't know how to say it. It's Ruckengener 2.
Ruckengener.
Yeah. So it's actually a really cool idea. It's like it's a desktop game, but so it's based on like what does it say, .NET 2 or something like that. And so it just looks like a regular computer game on your computer, or whatever. But then it's a game that teaches you how to reverse engineer stuff. Yeah. It's really, I was really shocked at how cool this thing. I mean, like, it's really fun, and I'm still woefully unprepared for it. But
right.
Basically, you have 3 different multimeters. You have a pulse input. You have a debug interface. You have a serial interface. And then you have a ability to look up data sheets for parts right in the game. Right, it's really not a data sheet, just
and it gives you some simulated product that you've got to reverse engineer. Is that
exactly? So like this, the first one is like it's a 9-digit keypad, and then it's going to some kind of keypad control chip. Right, it's 74C922, and then basically it goes to some no-name chip. Right, so it's great for like stuff where, like you do teardowns all the time. Sometimes you have the black blob with just a piece of silicon underneath, or it's got a weird label. Basically, if you want to go and reverse engineer that, you could intercept the serial stream. You could try and spoof the serial stream, and then in this case, they're trying to just undo a lock, right? So, from a security standpoint, you're trying to spoof stuff. You're trying to enable stuff. I don't know. It's just really cool. I never thought anyone would make a game out of it, but
that's
I really
a neat
like
idea. It's fairly niche, but I mean,
oh, of course it is. Yeah, but it's a great way to learn, and they've got like these like corny
would
videos.
Get frustrated with it though, because usually reverse engineering is not easy. You need a lot of dedication. Usually you're not going to crack it in the first 5 minutes, right?
No, definitely not. yeah, someone's been working on electronics for 10 years. This is like it's a whole other skill set, right? I mean, it's like. At first, I had to figure out what I was looking at, even. But then,
exactly.
Like there are a lot of methods where like a lot of people will plug into JTAG chains and try and probe like that and figure out bit streams and get talkback from chips and stuff like that. So it's a whole other skill set from just soldering and debugging, that kind of thing. This is a whole other skill set, but as far as I can tell, this is it's a cool instance of it, it's
but it requires patience, which I don't have much of, so that's why I don't do reverse engineering for fun. Some people find it fun, they love the thrill of the hunt, and they spend a month reverse engineering something that didn't really need to be reverse engineered, but they just did it because it's fun challenge.
Right. Why did you climb that mountain? Because it's there.
Because it's there, exactly. And no, I just don't have the I don't find, I find it okay, and I enjoy the thrill when I actually find something, but, no, there's more interesting things for me to do than that. See, unless I have to. Unless there's unless there's a real compelling reason to do it. I just,
Yeah, and I think like anything else, you need that end goal to start with, right? Yeah. A lot of these people they're starting out as security, IT security, like Mike does that kind of stuff, and Joe Grand teaches classes like this at like Black Hat and stuff like that. And so they have end goals in mind, either securing systems or breaking into systems in order to secure them, that kind of thing, or just breaking into systems. And so but you always need that, right? I mean, if you don't have that context, you don't care.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you need it up front, and I think you just haven't found the killer app yet, right? That's the main thing.
Yeah, exactly. I just
personally, I've never really, I've always been interested in quadcopters and like a lot of the UAV type stuff that's out there, but I never really appreciated it until I got this stupid little RC like helicopter toy from my folks for Christmas.
Right. Yeah.
And it is hard. It is hard to pilot these things on their own. I did not really. I think that's why a lot of people got into the programming side of things, because you program in like a hover function, right? So it actually
Yep.
senses where it is, and that makes things so much easier.
Of course.
I never, but the thing is, I never knew that, right? No one ever, it's not like everybody starts a video about UAVs like, and the reason that I like this is because the hover function in the autopilot, right? Like, no one ever tells you that unless you go and dig into it. And so you need that first spark of, crashing your helicopter and I broke it. Luckily, it was a $20 toy. But I mean, but honestly, as I was flying and actually getting it working, I'm like, oh, I get it now. This is why people enjoy this. It was cool when I got it to work. So I could see at that point. Right. So you just need that for security stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Once they put a digital lock on the door to the garbage room at your office,
exactly.
then you'll get into hacking.
I'd be spending a whole week hacking the thing. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's an end goal. All right, what else we got on this thing we can scream through? Because I only got 15 minutes left. We've pissed away 45 minutes, and we said we wouldn't go over on today's show.
Oh, we did say that. We'll see if we hold true. This is something my friend sent me, actually, the Moshi Meter.
Oh, they sent me this before it was, I knew about this before it became public, and it's like, okay,
Well, I like it because, you know why I like it, right?
Oh, because it's a remote interface. It hooks up to a tablet.
It's a headless unit. This is like what I've always been talking about. Yeah. But I mean, the actual thing, it's like, it looks like it's 2 chips on board, and then there's like, some... It's got a bunch of isolation.
There's nothing new here, There's nothing hugely new, It's
which
just
is okay.
Once again, it's a nichey kind of thing, It
is, and it looks like it's like probably like a Bluetooth chip, and then an analog front end, right? That's kind of the and
that's
a lot of
and it is designed to be
projects.
rugged. Right, it's designed to be sort of... I'm not sure if it's fully potted or not, but I think the case is waterproof or something, or, environment proof or something like that. I'm not entirely sure,
well,
but I think that's
it's 3D printed right now, but...
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
But
it is a good idea. Yeah. It is a good idea, and...
It's a remote digital multimeter logger thingo for your phone/tablet. Yep. So it's got volts, ohms, amps, input, and a Bluetoothy type interface.
Right. It looks like they're tracking over time though too. So it's like a pseudo
it can log,
oscilloscope.
So you can use it as a low bandwidth oscilloscope. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So they're trying to be all things. They're trying to sort of do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is okay, but generally a master of none kind of thing.
Right.
Yep.
So I didn't see when they're actually. It's coming out in 2014, so that's cool. So it might be on Kickstarter or something, but it looks like a cool idea. We'll have to see pricing too. If it's going to be
like in mid-January or something.
Yeah. So if it's going to be like $500, might not be worth it, but I'm guessing it's probably going to be less than that. So cool.
Yep. There's another, speaking of which, there's another Kickstarter project.
Kickstarter? I've heard of this.
Yes. It's a 10 gigahertz USB oscilloscope for, $300 or something? But don't get excited, folks. It's obviously a sampling scope.
Right. So that means it's going to capture all of the waveforms and then process them and send them back to you, right? I mean, that's the... It's not like real time. You need
a repetitive waveform. I mean, its bandwidth is like... a couple of kilohertz or something. It's a real-time bandwidth is a couple of kilohertz. So unless you have a
really
repetitive...
fast pulses, but not many of them.
No, it can't. It can't capture fast pulses unless they're repetitive.
Right. But if it's a really low duty cycle though, right? So if it's like a 2 gigahertz rise time on the edge, it can catch that.
It can catch that, but as long as it's repetitive and the trigger point is repetitive, that's fine. You can do that.
Right, okay, yeah. Right, if it's a single pulse, you're screwed.
If it's a single pulse, you're screwed. You can't do it. It's useless.
Right.
So, and this is all how most of the real high bandwidth, $50,000 scopes from Agilent and the rest have worked in the past, and they still do these days, although there's a lot of really high real-time bandwidth ones now, but,
the real-time ones actually capture at that level, right? I mean,
and they capture
might be a little lower, but
100 gig samples per second, with a 50 gigahertz bandwidth, But no, up until very, very recently, the 30 gigahertz bandwidth scope from Agilent samples at 10 kilohertz, I mean, it's,
Well, isn't
That's
this the
just
same
how
thing
it
with like
is.
spectrum analyzers too, where you'd have like the spectrum analyzers where it would take this huge chunk of data, and then it would do a bunch of FFTs on it, and you'd see that, and then you'd do another huge chunk of data, and you'd see that. Versus now, there's like real-time spectrum analyzers as well.
That's kind of a similar thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
similar
and
way
it's
they
just
do it.
about how fast you're chunking through that
Yep.
data, right? If you're streaming it through, right, where you're streaming it through like a a processing algorithm versus. This is like a good example of what we talked about a couple weeks ago with the FPGAs versus micros, right? If you're streaming through an FPGA, you can do a lot more samples in a shorter amount of time versus having to take a big chunk of data and then iterate on it.
And then post-process it. Yeah.
Yeah, then you're
Yep.
screwed.
Yep. And the interesting thing is that it just uses a regular PIC microcontroller as the ADC, right?
Really?
This is the remarkable thing, right? Because in for a sampling scope, the bandwidth is all about the sample and hold, right? The input, sample, and hold. That's it, right? You capture it. You've got that 10 picosecond window. Boom. You've captured your signal. You hold it there, and then you can just use a 10-cent ADC in your bloody PIC, in your 30-cent PIC to do the conversion, right? It doesn't matter because you do it as slow as a wet week, right? It's all about the sample, the front end sampling system, and you can get that 10 gigahertz bandwidth on your front end and use a PIC microcontroller to do the ADC. It doesn't make sense unless you know how sampling scopes work.
Yeah.
And and it's but it's there is no front end on this, right? It's not like it has an attenuator on the front end. It's 50 ohm input, SMA connectors, 50 ohm only. And, well, if you want to probe a high-impedance source, well, your $300 10 gigahertz oscilloscope is useless because you need a $5,000 probe, active FET probe to
to catch that edge, right?
Yeah, to
so
really
it
do it
round
useful.
off.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very niche, limited use to very low impedance matched systems.
So what would you, if you were going to use this kind of thing, what would you use it for?
You'd probably use it for characterizing, 50 ohm differential signals or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you for these sort of things, you can roll your own probes, right? You can, get some SMD resistors, and you can make you can bodge up your own probe. In Howard Johnson's book, there's all details on how to do this. And it's not a bad industry standard way to do it.
And 10
bodge up your own
gigahertz, though. I mean, you're going
probes.
to have parasitics that you blow out of the water, though, aren't you? I mean,
you've got to know what you're doing. You've got to know what you're doing, but you can do it. In some cases, you have to. In fact, in some cases, that's the best way to do it because you want to match the load. You want your sampling scope to be the load. And that's where this comes in handy. Whereas if you're trying to probe a signal, like if you're trying to probe a USB, 3.0 bus. For example, you don't, and you want to do it in situ. You don't want to disturb that bus, so you want to, you're going to have to buy that $5,000 differential probe. You can't just whack.
Yeah,
this
that's a good
thing
way to
on
look
it
at it.
And, it just doesn't work. So, it has limited use. So if people are thinking that they can get a 10 gigahertz bandwidth scope for $300, it's just sorry, it doesn't really work like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Or a scope as you know it. So
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
Right. Because most people at scopes, they're used to, okay, I've got a vertical attenuator on the front end. I can dial up how much gain, my attenuation / gain, on the front end, and and just people take it for granted that you've got a a high impedance DC probe. Right.
Right. You got a nice amplifier up there or something, right? I mean,
this
nice
thing,
and characterized and
it's
flat.
straight in. It's bang, 50 ohm system straight in. No attenuator, no nothing. As far as I know, it doesn't look like it has anything else. I don't think they're releasing schematics or anything like that show you exactly what it's. Anyway, yep. So. Yeah, it's just good for like RF stuff where you're generally dealing with loads and things like that anyway, match loads and all that sort of jazz. So, this thing is useful if you want a cheap way to view your carrier signal or whatever, because your carrier signal is repetitive, then this,
Right.
this can do it. Yep.
Your 10 gigahertz carrier signal, is that right?
Yeah. But it all comes down to the stability of the trigger system on these sampling scopes, right?
Right.
There's
yeah,
no
if you
point
get
having
then you're screwed, right?
Yeah, you can have a $50,000 fantastic front end on on a 50 gig scope, but if your trigger system's got jitter from here to Timbuktu, then you ain't going to be able to do anything. It's useless.
Well, you'll catch it once in a while, right?
Right.
I like stuff like this though too, because this is like a really good example of like the whole you get what you pay for kind of thing, and like the reason to actually go and look at good quality test equipment or any kind of situation like this where you realize that there are limitations, and it stinks if you're on a budget, but if you're on a budget, you're probably not playing with these things that often anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you have to be really, have a lot of ingenuity in order to actually capture those signals reliable, right? I mean, like,
yep.
It makes for a interesting engineering problem.
Right. Next.
Well, if you were going to build your own probes, you could have watched Alan, our buddy Alan Wolke. He's got another good video about the variety of prototyping techniques. Up through Manhattan technique and breadboarding to start with, of course. But he goes all the way through them. So
cool. I haven't seen that video yet. Yep.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Alan's he keeps cranking those out, man.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. I like it.
I'm running out of things here, man.
Well, we're running out of time. I only got 4 minutes left.
4 minutes left.
And the whole year, it's just gone. Another year.
I know.
It's over. We don't care about Intel wafer pricing.
No.
We don't care about elimination of laptop charger bricks. I'm just going through the list here. The rise and fall of electronic kits. Oh, God, do we have another hour?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a generic article basically pointing out how, kits have come back. Raspberry Pi, Arduino, everything else.
Right,
yeah. That's good. I see someone posted...
But they aren't kits. They aren't kits.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, nobody builds an Arduino kit.
Some people do. There's hackerspaces that have soldering classes.
But, it's very niche.
It's definately not the main case.
The Arduino is essentially not a kit. It is essentially there are some kit versions, but my mate John from Freetronics, right? He used to sell an Arduino kit, and they just didn't sell. Nobody wanted it, right? So I think he's left with a bunch of old stock, because nobody, they just buy it, build up.
Well, crap, man. If no one wants to build electronics, I'm screwed.
Right.
Sign up for Contextual Electronics, folks. We'll teach you how to...
No. See, everyone says that, can you have a kit? And then, you do a kit, and you find that there's hardly any demand for it. That's why I don't produce kits anymore.
Right.
Essentially. There is still some, case scenarios where it's still okay to do that sort of thing. If it's really simple, for example, then, it's probably not worth getting a contract manufacturer. If it's a board with 5 parts or something, maybe it's,
Right, it's all through hole. It's very...
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it is just easier and simpler to give it as a kit, but, not some complex kit. It's just... Yeah. It's not worth the effort.
I wonder about it, too, because someone had told me about, Heathkit is having some... how Heathkit got bought. We talked about that earlier in the year.
Yep.
And they're having some launch event or something. And I'm just like, I still don't know who these people are. And it's like, okay, well, I'll see it when I see it,
Right.
And so that I guess that would be the real interesting thing would be, is there actually that demand for kits anyways? I mean, I think, if we talk to the likes of Adafruit and SparkFun, I think there is interest in kits. But I guess
though, the majority of their income comes from pre-built gadgets. I
breakout boards
it.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, I guarantee it. Yep. Yeah, they may have sold 10,000 Minty Boost kits or whatever, and other kits, but nah, trust me, I reckon I'd be shocked if the majority of their income comes from kits. That may be where they started, but that's not where they're ending up.
Right, because you get so many efficiencies from a pick and place, right? I mean, that's effectively robot labor versus...
And this is why kits aren't really popular anymore. Whereas they, back in the heyday, the 70s, for example, and the 80s of kits, it's because the manufacturing industry didn't exist for small-scale players like this, right?
Uh-huh.
The automated it did not exist, right? Unless you were a huge corporation, you could not access these manufacturing houses. Nobody wanted to build anything for you. Right? It was much harder. That's why the kits made sense. And because everything was through-hole, they were easy to handle. Now it's all bloody surface mount. Try and kit up a surface mount kit and then try and compare the value of that compared to only a couple of bucks it costs you to get a board assembled at a local manufacturing house. A couple of bucks? To have a board pick and place assembled, it's not worth a couple of bucks of your time to kit up the components, put them in bags, label them. Oh, it costs you more. It's cheaper to get it assembled. That's why I sell my microcurrent assembled.
The user side as well. I mean, then the user has the guarantee of it working, tested working versus...
or a short form kit. Short form kits are, still okay. Where, you've, all the hard SMD stuff, is done, and, you might have to hook up some battery connectors or something. That's kind of, some manual wiring or something like that. That might be different. But, as a kit supplier, a kit producer, for me, it just doesn't pay to provide a kit because it's so cheap to get it locally contract manufactured.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, I almost got tempted again because people keep pointing me to it. The $5,000 Chinese pick and place machine, which everyone thinks is only a couple of grand, but no, if you actually go price it and include postage and conversion, it's about $6,000 here in Australia, right? For me to get one of these machines. And everyone assures me that it's actually quite useful and actually works reasonably well. So I'd like to get, I wouldn't mind getting one, it'd be novel. But $6,000 buys me an awful lot of assembly time on a professional pick and place machine.
Right, which then you can sell the product of to buy more time, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's, So, they're nice, novel little machines, but can you justify the cost,
it's about pricing your time, really, at that point.
Pricing your time and stuff like that, exactly. Yeah. But who knows, maybe in the new year I'll get sucked into getting one just because it might make for some interesting videos or something like that,
I could see that. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it would be better than hand placing everything, right? I mean, if that was going to be your bag, then for sure.
Well, if I was going to get into sort of, really niche kits that, I'm not going to sell 1,000 of them. I might sell 100. Then, the assembly house isn't really going to, be that, keen for my business for 100 boards, right?
Right.
It's just only like 10 panels or something like that, maybe. Or if you've got a smaller board and there's 50 boards per panel, then, they're not going to set up the machine to run one panel through, So, in those sort of cases, it might make sense to have your own machine. So, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, it's a tough balance point.
I think I need some more convincing, but it is about $6,000 Australian landed. So.
Oh, like shipped and everything. With all the
shipped in.
bits.
It's like $400 or $500 shipping or something. Yeah, because it weighs like 50 kilos or something.
Yeesh, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's huge. Anyway,
any other lab upgrades for the new year?
Yes. Actually, I am in talks with a manufacturer who's looks like they're going to get me a high definition visual inspection video system. So, but unfortunately, because it hooks up to a PC, right, I've got to sort of, if I want to permanently have this thing on my bench as a place to do, shoot videos, high-def videos, it'd have like a foot pedal I can zoom in and out and all that sort of jazz.
Oh, wow,
right?
Okay.
But then I need a PC permanently dedicated to that because it streams it in full HD, full HD at 60 frames per second. I need a pretty powerful PC to capture it, right? And then I've got to permanently set up a proper mic onto it. And, so I'm probably, if I'm going to do that properly...
not a junk room special, huh?
No, exactly. So, this is a real expensive video system, so I want to do it justice, and to make it useful, you have to have everything set up there, ready to turn on the computer, push a button, and go. Right? You don't want to go
like you were doing final inspection for a gadget that's being produced in a manufacturing environment.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, that's what these things are actually designed for, visual inspection and stuff like that. So if I have to drag my good notebook that I'm using now in my little office cubicle here, if I have to drag that out and hook it up and dick around and, I'll never use it. Right, so I would have to dedicate some bench space to it. I'd have to buy a specific machine that's hooked up to it. I've got to, put monitors in the right place. Maybe it tucked under the bench. I have to build custom shelves, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's something I definitely will do because this thing, if I get it, is a real kick-ass unit. I think it's it's justified in doing that. And then I want to set up because at the moment the lab's a brothel, it's just sorry to all your clean brothels out there. I'm just using the generic term, that means mess. Everything's strewn all over the floor.
Different meaning here, buddy.
Right. Okay. I want to set up a photography bench permanently. Right, and that has a proper anti-static mat on it. That's also, the consistent color. So I get a consistent color background. Have the light soft boxes, which I've got. I want to dedicate, a permanent bench to that. Once again, it's all that sort of, it really pays dividends when you have your processes streamlined. It might be a lot of pain in the ass up front, and getting there sucks. But once you have it all in place, you go, oh, that's so worth it. And considering that I'm churning out videos, every second day, and doing product teardowns and stuff like that, I really should invest more money and space and effort into, having really nice dedicated benches for doing stuff. And that kind of was the intention. Like I've got when I set up the office to begin with, the lab here, I had, one bench dedicated. Well, that's my working bench. That's where my irons are and my main test gear.
That's where all the crap goes, yes.
And that's
right,
where all the crap builds up, yep. And so I don't shoot many videos there, but then I have my main teardown bench, which is where I test things, do product reviews and teardowns, and that's sort of working okay. Then I've had another third bench, which was supposed to be for stuff like this. It was supposed to have a MakerBot on it. It was supposed to have like a permanent video, microscope and things on it. And so I can do all my microscope work there and stuff like that. So, yeah, they're the plans. I don't have to do my video now. There we go. That was going to be my update video for this year.
Yeah, just for everyone here. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Go to about 1 hour in and Dave will talk about
Dave
will talk about the future.
We went over.
Oh, yeah, we suck.
We suck, don't we? We just talk too much.
We do. All right, well, have a good new year. I guess I'll talk to you in 2 weeks or so.
Yep.
2014.
Yep.
All right, man.
Awesome.
Thanks to everyone for listening.
Yeah. Oh, has our audience increased this year? Have you checked like stats or anything like that? Do we still
I have not checked.
Goes up linearly?
No, I think we're pretty consistent these days. So if people are listening, we do love you telling your friends.
So we're not actually, we're a bit stagnant, are we? We're not gaining new audience.
Yeah, if you want to go if you're not growing, you're dying, then I guess we're dying. But I think we're pretty consistent, so.
The amp hour is dying. There you go. There's a headline.
Headline, yeah, that'll be on the top. No, it's we got a solid group of listeners, and I think hopefully with the new site and everything, keeping people engaged and being able to talk to one another. That's kind of the goal for the new site.
Well, see, because that's the thing, because we're not being the a radio/podcast medium. We get listened to differently. We get viewed, I guess, differently to, other forms of, text blogs and video blogs and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's not much interaction there. So it's hard for us to know that people care, Yeah. So, if we stopped, going, oh, we don't think many people listen to this, who would care? We'd probably, there'd be people with pitchforks on the, on our front doorsteps, but we go, whoa, we didn't know, because they're just, they get it automatic. Yeah, it's automatically downloaded into their phone each week, and they listen to it.
That's how I do it too. Yeah, so it's
yep.
Yeah. So, tell your friends for the 2014. That can be your New Year's resolution.
Right.
Everybody out there. Share your favorite podcast. Hopefully it's this one. Yeah. All right, man.
Awesome.
Talk to you next year.
Later. See you, everyone.
I'm bound to thank you for it. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na na na. iTunes reviews.